Hey, familia, what's up? This is Luis Rodriguez. This is the latest episode of Talking L3. I'm here with my partner.
Yahir Vasquez, and today we're going to be talking about Mexico's new head coach and which players should be in and out of El Tri.
Yeah, and then along with that, we got LigaMX starting up here. I got my All-Star jersey from last year. It came up short. And, of course, we're bringing back El Cantarito. We have Preguntas del Cantarito, but we'll do a little bit of trivia this time.
Are you excited for that?
Yeah, of course.
Do you have a nice little sticker for us to?
Oh, I do. We got
we
are adding to our sticker here our friends from a local supporters group, My High Locos. These guys are hardcore El Tri fans. They set up the tailgate, amazing tailgates. I'll tell you that much. Live bands, multiple taco stands, all this. So that's the kind of environment you could expect at a El Tri tailgate.
Also, they bring a little Mexican boot they can take shots out of. Which is what my favorite thing about that.
They got the beer booth, they got the shot booth, so good guys. Anyways, man, let's get into coaches, man. No more Tata for Yaya.
That's what I felt like.
It's like he just scored a free kick goal.
I felt like Ronaldo.
Wow.
Not at Real Madrid, not Al Nassr. There's a difference there.
We don't know. For maybe he'll be fired.
No, there's a difference.
Okay.
There's a difference. One's in Champions League, one's not in Champions League.
So who are you liking for names out there as far as coaches?
I've said it multiple times. I'll keep bringing this name up. I want Jimmy Lozano, the guy that's brought a bronze medal, the guy that took, I think it was the U15s, right, in 2018 to the
maybe U17s?
U17s to the final of that World Cup. I think he was the coach
U20 or U20.
One of them, but I just know that he's had a really good track record with the younger guys.
Yeah, but his real thing was, his main thing was the Olympics in Tokyo.
Do you like Jimmy Lozano?
I absolutely love how they played for Jimmy Lozano. That team was like a juggernaut, man. Like they scored a lot of goals. They're really fun to watch. Some of those players made it to Qatar, some didn't. Like Sebastián Córdoba had like a really good Olympics and went to Tigres, and
we'll get into that in a minute about players. But the main reason I want Jimmy is the same reason that Argentina has Scolani. I don't think when you have star players become your coaches, it ever works out. Hugo Sanchez, it didn't work out with Maradona. It never worked out with Pelé. Star players are not meant to be coaches because star players see the game different than everybody and have different expectations.
Are you talking about the star player thing because one name that's been floated out there is Rafa Marquez, who's right now
correct
Barca Atletico, which is Barca's B team.
Yeah.
He's their head coach right now.
It is one of the reasons because it's been floated around. I don't think star players are meant to be coaches for that one reason. They see the game very differently than everybody else, and they expect
They expect everybody to play at their level, which a lot of it is just
you can't always can. So that's why I think Scolani was such a great coach for Argentina because he was a technician. He was a guy that played the game, but he also understood what the game brought upon it. You know what I mean? And I think Jimmy Lozano's that way. He was a great player in his time. He won the 2004 and 2005 LigaMX with at that time it was the Clausura and all that, but with Pumas with Hugo Sanchez as his coach. And I think that's what Mexico needs. They need a guy that can connect with their players.
That guy has I think as far as El Tri, he has a big chip on his shoulder because there was a very controversial call-ups in 2006 that he was left off of the last cut, and famously La Volpe selected Chiquis Garcia, who I believe is his son-in-law.
Yeah, and also Guille Franco, another naturalized.
Guille Franco was in 2010.
No,
I don't know who the naturalized player was in 06.
I'm pretty sure Guille Franco also went in 2006.
He probably was in 06.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was there too.
Signa was a naturalized player. But anyways, yeah, so I could see Jimmy Lozano also come with a chip on his shoulder, and that's, to me, it's never necessarily a bad thing. But I do like Jimmy Lozano. Coach I really like because he's had success in a couple different stops, really paid his dues, was an assistant at a couple European stops, I think including Atleti, but he was under Javier Aguirre at Osasuna, I think, but is Nacho Ambriz.
Nacho Ambriz, there we go.
Wow.
It's early in the morning, guys.
Tip of the tongue things, but okay.
We know our stuff.
Yes. No, Nacho Ambriz has paid his dues. And I think he took Toluca far, like way farther than anybody expected
Mhm.
last season. And I think, and we'll get into it, but I think they should be seen as some of the favorites going into the season. He had success at Leon, and so like I said, he's really paid his dues. His teams play like a pretty exciting brand. So that's one of the coaches I like. He was a El3 captain back in the 90s.
Yep.
Had a really good World Cup 94. So
Another player that wasn't a star, really good player, but wasn't like the Hugo Sanchez,
Sure.
the Pelez.
Yeah.
And that's another
he
player
was,
that falls under
he was
my
one of those
category.
guys, you know, doing like what we would consider the dirty work, you
Yeah.
know, and really reliable player. That's what, you know, and
That's
the
what
kind
you
of stuff,
need.
that's the kind of stuff you need. And maybe that's why he's transitioned into having some success as a coach. Not always, obviously, but like I said, you know, some success with Leon, and then he took Toluca farther than anybody expected. We'll see how they do in this Apertura season starting up here. I like him. I wouldn't be mad if that's who they went with.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the front runner right now is Almada from.
How's that unfortunate?
I think it's unfortunate.
Pachuca won.
That doesn't mean anything to me. It did.
But wait. But you love the developing players, and Pachuca is like the one team that.
How many have been sold off?
Oof.
Exactly. Can't even think of a number because none of them been sold off.
Pocho Guzman to Chivas.
Like, exactly. This is what I mean. That's not developing players. That's just putting them. That's getting them to a place where they're good enough for your league, but not enough to push them to the next level.
Okay, well, that's not necessarily on. Is that on the manager? Or the
it
club?
should be on the manager because the manager's word carries a lot of weight.
The manager put him in place to do what they did, which is won the league.
Exactly, but like as a manager, I will say that we'll get into this too when we in the next.
They scored
topic.
So many goals in the final.
I will say this:
the global was like a joke.
Luis Chavez,
yes,
is a really good example of that, where he's pushing to go to Europe. He just hasn't had that move. Although there's some rumors that Valencia might be after him now. But we'll get that into the next segment. But I will say he's getting the right mentality. But one of my things is I want him a Mexican. I think for you to be successful in any national team, not even just the Mexican national team, you have to have that love and passion that you've carried your whole life. And I think that's
these
why
guys
Jimmy
are professionals. Like we gotta. I know you have your theories and whatnot about Tata, but
the thing is that to be a coach, to be a técnico, it's not just about what you know, X's and O's. It's about how you inspire your players, how you get them from point A to point B. It's not that you got them from point A to point B. It's how you got them there. And I think Jimmy Lozano has done a great job of not just developing these players into great players, but developing them into smart young men that are looking for the next step.
Well, if he was, then I think he would have had better success at Necaxa, which was his last stop, and they didn't.
Because there's a difference between a club coach and an international coach. Club coaches are not always going to be great international coaches. Great international coaches are not always going to be great club coaches. And I think Jimmy's an international coach.
Miguel Herrera is kind of the
exception.
Most recent example of a club coach that also had some success as a national team coach. Very passionate guy.
Yeah, exactly. And he had success because of that passion. He was somebody that was trying to look for the next step of these development of players. I think he was but again, you look at it, he was a club coach, great club coach with America. Went to international, did great. He came back, hasn't been the same. It's very different styles of coaching.
It's very different styles.
And I think Jimmy thrives in that international role.
We'll see. I mean, I'll be interested to see who they pick. You know, media and fans like to throw out, you know, people.
Pochettino.
Pochettino's
let's go.
name was floated.
I don't want Pochettino.
The coach of Saudi Arabia has been floated.
Greg Berhalter might be available. Who does know?
Well, yeah. No.
As long as he doesn't have to deal with the same Reina,
Mexicans
I think he's
have enough
telenovela
drama. Greg could keep that over there. With the
keeping up with the Reina / Berhalters. That'd be brutal.
Man, that's like some Desperate Housewife stuff. But
it is. Again,
that's
way off topic. We already had enough drama with Tata.
That's not for talking in three. That's not for talking in three. You know, I wouldn't be opposed to like a Jurgen Klinsmann.
I would,
because I mean he's familiar with the region at least.
I wouldn't want Klinsmann. Again, I think it has to be somebody that bleeds these colors. You look at the two finalists in this last World Cup. Who was it? Who were their coaches? Argentina had Scolani.
Scaloni.
France had Deschamps. Two coaches that were born and raised with those international
You know,
teams.
and I did read a stat that none of the World Cup winners have ever had
A foreign coach.
But still, I mean, football is so globalized now. I mean, even Almada, I mean, he you know, I mean, I think showing how much he's bought into the youth Pachuca players and rode with them and obviously won a championship with them. Like, I think he gets it. It makes me think of Almeida, who took Chivas to their last championship. I would love Almeida. And he still believes in guys because he took Orbelin to Greece and he's scoring bangers out there, man. So he still believes. That's what we want. We want a guy that believes in the Mexican player.
I will say that if Almeida becomes the coach, I feel like there's a chance that Kate Cowell comes with him. Because he coached him in San Jose. And Kate Cowell already has a dual nationality. And I would love Kate Cowell as an extra winger.
Okay.
So that's one positive
I think
thing.
that's a good segment that we could talk about. Yeah. Maybe this next generation.
Nice little transition here.
Nice little transition to
here
the
comes
next
the graphic.
All right. There we go. We're in it. We're in it now, man. Could you see Kate Cowell being one of those new players that comes in, shakes things up, or brings a new generation to El Tri?
See, this brings a smile to my face because it does. I think he is. I think he's a player that can come in and become a real star for Mexico.
Well, if he was a star, why wasn't San Jose better?
Oh, dude, it's a team sport. But if you see him play, like, he's great. He's the one that's been dragging San Jose along. Him and
Mbappe,
the striker.
Mbappe dragged France to make a game of it and then almost won it.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
A real star player could really shine.
I mean, but it's Mbappe, probably like one of the top 5 players at the end of his career of all time. To Kate Cowell.
That's crazy, man. Yeah. We're already talking about being all-timer and he's
it's
like early 20s.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
That's crazy.
But again, I think Kate Cowell's one of those that next generation that's going to come in. I think he's only 19, 20, like very young kid. He might only be 18 too. Yeah. He's like very young. Richie Ledesma, another one that's been rumored to come to
PSV.
To switch over to Mexico.
Okay.
You already got David Ochoa coming in. You got Mark Duen choosing Mexico over Netherlands.
Well, okay, so David Ochoa chose Mexico, but he hasn't. He just moved from DC United to Atlético San Luis in LigaMX. I would have preferred, because I think another option was Barça B. I kind of would have preferred he would have taken that route. But
do you know why he chose San Luis though?
I mean, look, the same reason a lot of Mexican players choose Mexico. I mean, they live comfortably. They make, for example, Luis Chavez. Okay, I'm just saying we know he turned down. He's one of the few players that turned down an internal move. Monterrey. I'm reading figures like they would have tripled his salary.
Yeah,
and so that's one of the. So as much as you want to blame the clubs, I mean the players they gotta live with that too. Like, dude, would you do your job for 1/3 of right? I think.
And the reason I blame the clubs, it's not because they're offering players within their own league. It's because they make it impossible for them to transfer out of Mexico. Yes. It's not about what they do within
some of these clubs. But I've always said LigaMX is a destination league. It's a results now driven league. There isn't an incentive for the clubs to sell players out that they could get, astronomical numbers from, super inflated numbers from the big Monterrey teams, Chivas, America. With Chivas, it's just Mexican players, obviously, because those clubs. I mean, their expectations are high. They're high dollar clubs. Don't get me wrong. We all want to see more Mexicans go because in this transfer period, it's Cesar Montes forced his way out of Monterrey,
which is what you should do.
Which what he do, and it showed because he immediately, less than a week after getting to Espanyol, he starts in Copa del Rey.
And he was the best player.
He was 120 minutes, right? Completed something like 60-some passes at a high rate. So he showed his qualities there. And the other player that so far transferred out was...
Wait. Before we get there, can I say something about David Ochoa real quick?
Yeah.
So I know you know this. The reason that he went to Atlético San Luis, it's because their parent club is Atlético Madrid. So the promise was that if he goes to San Luis, develops a little more and becomes more of a consistent starter. So this deal was made with Atlético Madrid, not Atlético San Luis.
I'd be interested. Yeah, I'd be
So the
interested
reason
to-
he went there is so he could develop and then make the jump to Europe to Atletico Madrid's second team, their first team, depending how much he develops. So that's actually built into his contract. That's the whole thing. So that's
I
why
hope so. I hope that's true.
that it is like. Trust me, I went through all like so. That's why
Studied it like a grad student.
when I saw him, like, why did he choose this? And I went through it all, and it's because it's built in that he can go to Atletico Madrid if he develops enough and
I
reaches
hope
certain
so.
things. So that's why I'm like, I'm okay with that because he was looking at Europe, and then Atletico knocked and said, "We want you to develop in Mexico, then we'll bring you over."
I hope that's the case because he's had some games where he's stood on his head, man, for DC, for Real Salt Lake before that. Holy cow.
He's
And
just a little
so
bit of
I'm
a
excited
head
for him.
case.
A little, well, I don't know.
But you like the
goalies
passion.
are different dudes.
Yeah.
Goalies are different dudes.
Yeah, getting balls thrown at
But
you.
speaking of goalies going to Europe, do you know the last goalie that played in Europe, Mexican goalie that played in Europe?
Yeah, it's Memo.
Memo Ochoa.
And he
Do you
did
know
it
who's the
again.
next? Who's the next goalie playing in Europe?
Coutinho?
No, it was. I mean, he wasn't with the first team.
But I think
He was in Porto Bay, but it's Memo. Memo's back in the top. We'll say in the top 5 league. Serie A, Salernitana, Memo. And here's the thing. Okay, talking about Mexicans living comfortably. Memo went back to America, got his bag. He's a veteran. He wants to keep challenging himself, clearly. So he can afford to make that move because I'm hearing it's like he's making like 500,000 at Salernitana. Yeah. And now, you know, these guys, the younger guys, you know, they got their whole career ahead of them, some families or whatever. And it's a physical sport. Right? Everybody's like one tackle away. So
yeah.
I can't blame when the guy's like, you want me to take this much less to go, you know, battle it out for, you know, in the Eredivisie or the Portuguese league or
this is the thing,
or Belgium or
I
or
can't blame them. I can't blame them at all. But I don't want them on my Mexico international in my Mexico team. Then I don't want them part of El Tri. If that's what your goal in soccer, that's fine. I don't judge you. Do what you got to do. Get your bag and get out. That's fine. But to play for El Tri, it takes something special.
Of course.
And it's playing for El Tri shouldn't just be get your bag, create a name. It should be you're doing it because you love it. It has a special mentality to it. And I think that's where Mexico's lacking.
I don't know, man. Every kid grows up in Mexico. Like literally every kid.
No, and I don't think it's like the kids. I think it's once you become a professional and I don't blame the players either for not having that mentality. I blame the federation for not putting that forward and being like, we want this from our Mexican players.
Okay.
I don't blame the players again. The players are doing what they got to do. And I think a lot of them do love playing for El Tri, but I think the federation doesn't have the right mentality within the organization and give it to their team.
All right. So let's talk about some of those guys that will be part of this next generation that have took that chance. Santi Jimenez.
Pencil him in right now.
Feyenoord, which he's still not getting the minutes, but I mean, he scores.
He's producing.
He plays, which is, I mean, that's a manager thing. And I'm starting to wonder, I used to think it was a manager thing for Diego Lainez, but now he was at Betis, now he's at Braga in Portugal, and he's still not getting minutes. I'm concerned that he might end up coming back to Mexico.
That's another mentality thing, I think, too. I think a lot of these times, I'd love to blame the coach, but I think at some point we got to look at the players and be like, you know what, what's going on?
Yeah, he's a wonder kid. I never understood why he's not getting more minutes. I haven't seen him lose a one-on-one. You know, if he loses the ball, it's because he's already dribbled past like 3 guys or whatever. But obviously we'd like to see him part of this next generation.
Yeah, I'd love to be that right winger.
He needs to get back and, you know, he needs to get in form, you know.
And I'd love to see him on the right wing because I think left wing should be Jordan Carrillo.
Oh,
I saw his smile perk up immediately. You know, we were talking about this right before.
You want to talk about a kid who's being a stud right now? Yes, Jordan Carrillo,
the real Mexican Messi.
Who's at Sporting Gijon, which is like the same Division 2 of Spain, same level that Marcelo Flores is at, but he's an actual, you know,
piece.
Yes, a focal piece of Gijon's squad. I don't know what's up with Marcelo.
I think it all comes to a lot of these players that go to Europe, I think, and don't do what
Well, Marcelo came from Arsenal's youth teams.
True, but I think it's a lot of a mentality thing. I think there's just there's a blockage there for a lot of these young guys. And again, I think that's a player thing. I think that's something they have to go through. Youth is wasted on the young and wisdom is wasted on the old. So I think it's more of a blockage between the young players. There's not a connect there just yet. And I think you're seeing it slowly become something that these players are working on. Jordan Carrillo is one of them. Luis Chavez is one of them. Also, we just talked Cesar Montes. They're players that are starting to push themselves that we didn't see in the last generation as much.
There's a couple. I mean, we got Edson.
Yeah,
We got
but I consider
Eric
Edson part of
Gutierrez.
this
But
generation.
yes, Edson is a focal point going forward. He's still fairly young.
25.
Hopefully, Eric Gutierrez.
I'm out on Guti.
Wow.
I'm all out on Guti.
Wow.
There's so many more talented midfielders that
There's good ones.
I think deserve a bit more chances than Guti. Guti had his chances and didn't take advantage.
If he leads PSV to Eredivisie, I mean,
I think you should keep him on the bench. I think that's what you should do. Warm that bench for the star players.
we don't. Okay. Okay, Edson, Guti.
So out of the squad that just went to the World Cup, who would you take to? Who are you still keeping in this next generation?
Yeah, I mean, we just named them.
You're not keeping Chucky Lozano?
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah,
Alexis
Chucky.
Vega?
Well, I'm speaking of players that like to be comfortable. I'm very disappointed that Alexis Vega has admitted to have turned down an offer from Europe because, as he puts it, and this was a straight quote on somebody else's podcast, he doesn't see the point of going out on loan, living uncomfortably, as he called it, for 6 months with pressure was his word. With that pressure of maintaining your spot at that club. And I was just, when I heard that, I was like, come on, man.
And that's
that is like a disease in Mexican football. Like these guys wanting to be about that life. And
it's so annoying.
Yeah, I can't blame him. Your career's only so long. But when I heard that, I was like, man, get out of here.
You're not, again, how I said, don't
no European team's going to come and tell him, like, we're going to guarantee you a spot. You're going to be our focal point.
Nobody in the world gets that. Not even Messi, when he came into Barcelona as a kid, got guaranteed a spot as a starter. Nobody in the world gets that guarantee. And for you to be so egotistical and say, well, why the hell would I do that? That just shows that you don't got the right mindset.
Well, CR7 and Al Nasser is probably guaranteed.
Yeah, but he proved himself. He went out there and said,
no, I'm just saying.
2
said no
decades.
player in the world. I was like, wow. Unless you go from being World Player of the Year to Al Nasser.
Yeah, that's the only way you can do that.
Okay, so from the World Cup squad, we got those guys.
So let's cut them down real quick. Montes, Johan Vasquez,
Yeah,
Jorge Sanchez,
absolutely.
Kevin Alvarez,
Yes.
Arteaga,
Necktat. What's up?
Necktat, my favorite Necktat of all time. Eton Alvarez,
Yes.
Luis Chavez,
Yes.
Chucky Lozano,
Yes.
Alexis Vega. I say no.
Maybe 50.
I say no.
It's in his hands. He's got the talent.
It's not in his hands. I'm taking it out of his hands. Get the hell out of here. You don't want to push yourself.
I mean, we know in
you.
this World Cup he basically filled in for Tecatito, who was injured. Tecatito's still at Sevilla. And
Tecatito, when you take him?
I'll take him because
he's a veteran.
He's not like old. By then he'll be in his 30s. But he's just, dude. He's
the guardado with a little bit more talent.
No. He's a winger. He can win every one-on-one. Yeah. Like, he's filthy. Okay. He's got that gambetta.
So you're taking.
So I would take Tecatito.
So that's what 6, 7 of the 26,
maybe 8, but 8. It's a good amount. But yeah, then we plug in our new legit striker, Santi.
Are you taking JJ Macías?
Oh, man,
I'm taking him.
I'll take him, but he's got to keep developing. Like, he hasn't shown me enough.
Well, he's been injured for a year.
He hasn't. Yeah, but he hasn't showed me enough.
I think I'm also taking Santiago Munoz.
Santi Munoz, but he might. I mean,
he's coming back to Mexico.
It's looking like he's coming back from Mexico after his loan to Newcastle.
I'm okay with that. Newcastle got an influx of money. He got a bunch of money and just got pushed even lower. I'm also taking
That was more of a marketing thing?
I think it was. They wanted to be
like the goal movie. Like, Santi Munoz.
Yeah, that's all they wanted, man. I was just waiting for him to go to Real Madrid.
Man, because he was doing really good at Santos when he went, so I thought he would get more of a chance, but I don't know.
So strikers, it would be Santi Jimenez, maybe Santi Munoz. See what happens. Maybe take Chicharito.
No.
You want to take Chicharito?
26? No. In
You want to take
2026, I'm not taking Chicharito when there's like
an
you said,
influx of
Kid
talent?
Cowell,
Yeah.
but also Martinez Dupuy, who's
Mhm.
who's down in Argentina,
Racing?
Rosario Central,
Yeah, Central. There you go.
and but it sounds like he could get moved to Europe at any moment. He's
I'm
a
really
rising
excited
player.
about that kid.
Yeah, he's a rising player. So,
Also, you got Brandon Vasquez, hasn't chosen a nationality yet.
is he?
He's good.
I know he's good. No, don't get me wrong. I know he's good. Chivas bid
$7 million.
$7 million for him,
And you know why
he's
they
still
said
turned
no?
down-
Because he wants that European chance.
That's good. But what do you give the chances that he chooses to play for Mexico?
I think, don't quote me on this. I think I heard he didn't want to go to the U.S. camp because he was hoping for a Mexico call-up.
Wow.
Don't quote me on that. I'm not a reporter.
But I mean, how many guys are in front of him on the U.S. list?
Maybe what, 3? 2?
Pepe, Sargent,
And Pepe, Sargent,
Pfog,
Wea,
Ferreira?
Baji,
Ferreira. So that's a lot of guys already. Meanwhile, in Mexico, I think the door is a little more open.
So that's one. Richie Ledesma's one that's flipping over to Mexico. Duena, we already mentioned, chose Mexico over Netherlands. You got Marcelo Flores. You got Carrillo. You got in the defensive side, you got Israel Reyes, Omar Campos, Jorge Sanchez.
Man, Israel Reyes is another one of those guys that took an internal move.
Yeah, but he's 22. I'm not as sad about that.
And then he went from Puebla to America. And
so
I mean, America has shown between
yeah.
Edson and Jorge Sanchez that they are willing to let these guys develop them more and then let them go over to Europe.
Exactly, and I think that's another one of those guys that you can look at.
Yeah, because he was one of Pachuca's. I mean, one of Puebla's better players. So
and then you still got Marcelo Ruiz in Puebla, who's actually
Marcel.
Who's I think developed really well.
Very young dude. Yeah.
I also think that his development has been stunted about how bad Puebla has been and how little exposure they've had.
Exposure more so than how bad they've been. But no, Marcel Ruiz, he's the truth. So I remember hearing about him as like a 17-year-old
exactly
at Querétaro. Speaking of youngsters, I'm excited about a young kid that Lozano brought along and Necaxa brought him up. Kid was starting as a 17-year-old, Heriberto Jurado. Who I'm hearing there's interest out there for him. What I'm more concerned about too with the younger guys is like there's no U20, there's no Olympics for them to also cut their teeth at in this cycle because Mexico didn't qualify thanks to a Guatemalan keeper who stood on his head because that team was a juggernaut. Mexico was a juggernaut in that tournament up until the knockout round where they couldn't buy a goal on this kid. Like
so that you know what you
crazy.
do then? You know what you do? You do what the U.S. did. You bring your C team to the Gold Cup and let them develop, and you see what you have in your league, and you give them exposure. That's what you do. That's what the U.S. did.
Yeah,
and they beat Mexico.
In general, with the way the cycle is going to work, and there's no qualifying games, like they need a barnstorm. Like they need to take the team out.
2026, 2024. It's going to be the
Copa America. Yeah.
U.S., Canada, and Mexico are involved in that, and that's another one that I'm really, really excited for.
Yeah.
So
and there's a chance that'll get moved to the U.S.
It is going to be moved to the U.S.
So
basically
all home games for Mexico.
Yeah,
because anywhere
somos
they play,
locales donde vamos.
Somos locales. They're home team. Like they could play in Alabama, Alaska. They'll fill up an Anchorage Stadium.
Oh, dude, yeah. There's Mexicans up there. Like I saw a whole documentary how Mexicans during the World Cup were up at like 2 a.m. and the sun was still out because it's Alaska. And it's backwards. and they were watching Mexico.
Like, it's backwards.
Alaska's backwards. No, until I've been to Alaska, I've never been to Alaska, and I've never met anybody from Alaska. Until I do, they're all backwards.
But anyways, yes, all home games. So yeah, that'll be a good opportunity for them to get some legit competition since there's no I mean, even when there's qualifiers like outside of the U.S., Canada, I mean the hexagonal games in general, like,
they just got to start pushing themselves, and I feel like that's something that Mexico lacking in.
So if anything, we got to keep eyes too. Like there's Nation League is going to be played this spring. I forget who they start against, like some Caribbean island. I don't remember.
I don't know. I haven't.
But I mean, that's a good that could be a good chance to plug in some of these youngsters. We'll see. They need a coach first. I wonder if they're gonna do like an interim thing first. Yeah. They've done it before with
El Vasco Aguirre.
Ferretti.
Yeah,
No.
Ferretti también did it.
Tuca
Yeah,
Ferretti.
Tuca Ferretti.
Um, maybe Vasco might have done it once. So
I
I don't
think
know.
Vasco did
I
during
don't
that.
know if they're
Like
gonna do the interim thing or.
they probably will because I think they don't want to rush this because I think there's gonna be a turning point for Mexico. Either they become one of the Caribbean teams or they become one of the powerhouses. I think. And I think there's going to be one of those times where they really got to look internally. I think there has to be some real changes from the bottom up and start really focusing on what's going on.
Well, supposedly there was going to be after the World Cup like a 60-day internal. I don't know if they call it investigation or analysis, and they come out with something. But
so they're
it's
just going to
FMF.
take like an Oshawa trip, and they're just going to like drink a bunch of mushrooms and be like, "Where am I messing up?" They're just going to do drugs and be like, "How am I doing so bad?"
I don't know, but it was. I'll be interested to see what, if anything, comes of that.
Real quick, the first thing I would do if I was running that whole thing is no player over 25 is going to come to these games. Everybody has to learn English. You guys have You guys have a year to learn English because all European teams use English for the most part. So you're gonna have to learn English so you can communicate with everybody. I start looking
Plus,
at
they
dual
could communicate with. I mean, they could communicate with coaches in Spain.
Exactly
In Spain, right?
Yeah, I mean they can, but like again, most coaches are English based. Even if you go to Germany, they're not talking Spanish; they're talking English and German. Um, you have to start laying this base for these young players that are like, this is your goal, and if you're not reaching those goals, I might not be looking at you for the squad. And I think you got to start putting those restrictions on because I don't think those players are doing it themselves. And I think that's how you develop players by starting to push them and start putting goals for them, even if it's like a year goal or a little bit sooner. And I think that's how you start making the Mexico team the greatest team in the world again.
I mean, it's easier said than done, man.
It is easier.
The raw materials there, though. I think we agree that like the raw materials there, like the guys that are coming up, the talent is there. It's about developing it and like harnessing it.
We need Ted Lasso. Where is he at?
Ted Lasso. Give me some biscuits. Yeah. No. Well, speaking of these players and their development and harnessing, we're coming upon another LigaMX season. Starting out, we won't spend too much on it because this is talking El Tri. But what are your thoughts?
I'm a Pumas boy. Pumas made me fall in love with soccer. I think they'll make it into the Liguilla, but I don't think they're gonna go far. I think Santos is gonna win it.
Dani Alves came back.
Surprisingly, after an investigation in Barcelona.
Dani Alves is back. No, I mean that's a team to watch. They tend to make, I would call them savvy moves.
Yeah,
like they don't make big splash moves, but guys that kind of end up making some noise, and they usually kind of outperform what they spend compared to a lot of teams. So, yeah, I'm a Chivas guy.
Yeah. Are you excited about Daniel Rios?
I'm excited about Daniel Rios. I'm excited about their new. They brought Pocho Guzman from champion Pachuca, who I think was very focal point there in Pachuca, along with Eric Sanchez and Luis Chavez, of course. But so interestingly enough, in Mexico they played like a preseason cup, and the final was Cruz Azul and Chivas. Cruz Azul won, but still, I was pleasantly surprised how well Mexico. I mean, see, Chivas did, all Mexican, 100%. Considering they have a new coach, they got and it's interesting, a Serbian coach. Spent a little bit of time in MLS. I don't remember who he coached in MLS. I'm blanking. Maybe Chicago, but
would make sense. Big Serbian population.
Serbian population. Yeah. But I was pleasantly surprised, and that's without the team fully gelling yet. So I want to see them quarterfinal semis, but yeah, that's a tall task. Like I said, for having a new manager and a couple new additions.
Who do you think's winning it?
Man, the thing, I mean, it's international football. You got to follow the money, and the money is at the big Monterrey teams.
Pooh.
I literally think the most valuable team in the Western Hemisphere is Rayados, Monterrey.
Yeah, they have the best stadium. They have the most influx of money. They have one of the best academies. They have one of the biggest investors in all of North America. So I can see that might be true.
Yeah, so
I'll maybe not in North America, let's say, because I think in the side of the hemisphere, Boca Juniors and All those might have a
But
little
still,
bit.
man, but still,
Rio de
like
Janeiro might
the
have more
payrolls in
money.
Mexico are higher than the Argentine and Brazilian
Yeah,
leagues.
but those two clubs are different animals altogether.
But
They
that's
have
mostly because they export so much.
exactly, but like that money like does make them one of the bigger clubs in the world.
Yeah, but so gotta think Monterrey is gonna be up there. Tigres is gonna be up there because they're
It's
all they're a
Tigres and
stacked
Monterrey.
squad.
Yeah.
They always got a stacked squad.
I think Santos is gonna be a surprise, man. I really do think Santos is gonna. They always come out and do something.
Yes.
They have those runs. They have a bunch of young players. Omar Campos, who I'm super excited
Yes.
to see
So
develop
Omar
more.
Campos, I just heard that Galatasaray just put in a second bid for him.
They're trying, and again, this is where these teams have to be like, buy. Well, so this is what happens: you sell a player cheap, you set the market, and then you can come back and sell them. The next player you develop, you can sell them higher.
So
you set a market.
and Santos, I can't say that they've held players back because
They have it. Like I'm just saying, like most teams in Mexico.
But I think with Santos, it's more of a need thing because they develop good and they have a good academy. But I don't know that they have the depth as some of these other teams. So it could hurt them to let Omar Campos go and they don't have somebody backfill.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think JJ Macías really developed with Santos, right? He was a Chivas, but he was on loan.
I'm not sure that, but Santi Munoz.
Came
from
yeah,
Santos
for sure.
Yeah, he came from Santos Academy, and so Omar Campos is another one of those guys that
Acevedo has also been like that.
How could we forget Acevedo? I think you probably got to go Acevedo before David Ochoa.
I think Acevedo's and the thing is that Mexico always has good goalies, so I've never had to stress about goalie.
Yeah, no, there's good keepers. So exactly, we're not super worried, but yeah,
Santos is my team.
Santos is a really good pick, because I mean I think they made it to the semis and lost to Toluca. And so Toluca, like I said, that Nacho Ambriz, he's got them rolling. He's got some like really good savvy veteran players.
If you have your wish, Nacho Ambriz won't be there anymore.
Maybe they'll let him coach out the rest of this season.
But why? Why would they? See, this is the issue. Like,
but what's he gonna? I mean, he'll get an analyzed player sort of for Nations League or something, but. He could start in the summer and still be fine.
See, Luis,
because there's a Gold Cup. There's a Gold Cup this summer.
Luis, stop! You're making me sad, man. There's the problem. Like we prioritize our club over it's country over club every time.
For me, it's country over club.
And a lot and within the LigaMX, it becomes club over country, and I hate that.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Not for me. I'm not a Toluca guy. I'm just saying. Like,
no, I know I'm not even saying you, but it makes me sad because I know that's what they're gonna do, and it's just like.
Well, America guys and the Monterrey teams are like notorious for that.
Yeah,
they prioritize their club over the country like every time.
Just go Belgium, man. Belgium literally just said we're all gonna play the same play style, and you just have to develop your players.
But they had academies, and I think France did something similar. That's definitely something that they got to do with the youth and kind of start to instill a style, a real Mexican style.
I'm gonna send you a bunch of videos tonight that you're gonna take a look at, and we're gonna discuss this next time. I'm gonna show you a bunch of things that I think Mexico could do, and then you'll tell me what you think.
I'll have to squeeze it in between Coco Melon and whatever my daughter watches.
Yo, your daughter, it's time that she starts to learn what a 4-3-3 is and what positional play and why inverted wingers are better than a false nine. She needs to start learning all this.
You gotta teach them young. You gotta teach them young.
She's gonna be the next. She's gonna take the women's to the World Cup, to the glory.
Yeah, no. Speaking of fun things like coaching my daughter or whatever at this age, or getting into her strategy. One of the fun things we like on our show is preguntas del Cantarito. Sounds like we got trivia this week.
They switched it up on us. They said,
no, that's good. That's good. Super producer Dalen.
They really want to make us look bad.
Oh gosh, you wanna ask first, or you wanna answer first?
I'll ask you first. I want you. I want to see how hard these are. Before
and I think the topics are L3 and LigaMX.
Yeah, it's a little bit of everything.
All right, let's see.
Ooh, what is Mexico's FIFA ranking before and after the World Cup?
Ooh, I want to say they went from like 11th to 14th.
You're actually extremely close. It's 13th to 15th.
Yeah, see, so they slid 2 spots.
Yeah, I know they were ahead of the U.S., which the U.S. was 16th and 13th.
16th, and I think the U.S. leapfrogged them, or no?
Yeah, they did. They started off 16th, now 13th.
So the rankings, though, like
no rankings don't matter.
I think after the World Cup, Brazil was still ranked 1 or something like that.
It's a point system based on how much money you can give the federation.
Maybe I was like, but Argentina literally won the championship of the world.
That proves who's number 1 in the world. But again, Mexico's number 1 in my heart, which is the only ranking that matters.
100%. Let's see what I got for you here. How many times has Mexico hosted the World Cup and what years? And then bonus if you give me the champions.
I know for sure. I think it was 86, and Argentina was the champion.
You're too young for this question, bro.
Dude, I was born in 96. That was 10 years before my time. Way before. I think that's the only one I know.
Okay.
Well,
I'm gonna teach you, youngster. And this is very.
I can name them 94 and up, but I can't. After that, I'm like,
okay, you're right. 86 is right. Argentina won. They hosted in 70, the first one, and that was Rei Pelé in Brazil won.
That's true, and I knew that one too, but I just blinked. It's all the lights, man.
And it was like, rest in peace, Rei.
I mean, both of Maradona too. Like,
him too, but most recently Pelé. But a lot of cool pictures,
the sombrero
that came out with this sombrero, a picture that he's on everybody's shoulders when he won that 70 World Cup. So very iconic moments at the Azteca, and hopefully we get more in 26, and hopefully we could be there.
Hopefully we'll be there holding hands and crying because it's gonna be an emotional
time. We get
time
enough subscribers, the 18 is gonna send us.
Yeah, the 18 is gonna send us with a bag with a goodie. Just giving out 18 stickers to everybody in hats.
Oh man, whatever. I'll give out whatever to be down there.
I won't give out whatever either. Like,
I mean,
I'll give out a lot of things.
I'll give out a swag, man. All right, what else you got?
Okay, I thought it was me next. Name 5 of the host cities for 2026.
Oof. In the U.S., in Mexico, in Canada,
everywhere.
All right, watch this. In Canada,
I'll give you 5 brownie points if you can name 10.
Okay. In Canada, it's Vancouver and Toronto. In Mexico, it's Mexico City, Monterrey, and Guadalajara. In the U.S., and I'm gonna start in the Northwest, Seattle, Santa Clara / San Francisco, SoFi Stadium in L.A., and then you shoot over to Texas. You got Houston and Dallas, and you got Miami, and then you go up the coast. Let me get the ones in the middle, the flyover states. We got Kansas City and Nashville. We got, like I said, Miami. You go up to the coast, and you got Philadelphia, New York, New Jersey.
You added one that wasn't there. Nashville.
So Nashville, okay.
Yeah, Nashville didn't get it. It's
Atlanta.
Atlanta. There you go. That's the one in Boston and New York.
Atlanta. Yes, Boston.
Very close, man. But I'm impressed.
And that's the thing. Well,
it's really
obviously
easy. Just
there's some cities I'm still salty about didn't get picked.
Denver.
Yeah. But like some, it's like, dude, what's the point of having 3 in that Northeast corridor that are like, and then
I think it's just more international travel.
Okay, somebody's gonna fly into Boston Logan. How the heck from, let's say, Switzerland or
it's closer
Uruguay or something? How are they gonna get to Foxborough, Massachusetts, dude? Same thing could go for a lot of places. Kansas City,
but the East Coast is
Santa
very
Clara.
close, though. East Coast is like very you can take a bus.
That is one place you could train. Back
the East Coast is like Europe. It's like you can go anywhere. Like,
okay, yeah, but I don't know. We'll see how they schedule it and how they use pods or what, because nobody's gonna be flying from New York to LA. For a game, hopefully.
I also blame Josh Kroenke for not having the World Cup here. Just saying.
In Denver, but
in Denver, that's off topic.
Yeah,
sorry
off
about
topic.
that. I gotta trash it whenever I can.
Yeah, but and then I thought some cities would kind of rule out each other, like they did Houston and Dallas. I'm like, no, well, you already got one Texas city. Why do you need 2?
Stadiums, money.
There's beautiful. I've been lucky enough to see El Tri in both stadiums.
Exactly,
they're actually beautiful stadiums.
That's why, like, they went by infrastructure, and then they went by like.
Actually, the final might even be in the Cowboy Stadium, AT&T in Arlington. Like, you're gonna fly into what, DFW? It's actually fairly close.
It's 40 minutes,
but there's no public transportation.
There's not, but they'll figure it out.
How are my Ghanaian fans gonna get? They'll Uber or whatever, but
FIFA will figure it out, man. They figure it out every time. I'm not.
They're gonna leave it on the host to figure it out, but
I mean, but
the U.S. is just like, our infrastructure's done. We're not adding anything for this World Cup. We're giving you the most hosted World Cups because these are all NFL stadiums. I feel 70 plus.
Yeah. I mean, I'm down for it. At this point, I'm just salty about Denver not getting one. But besides that, I think it's a great. It's
gonna be the best. It's gonna be the best World Cup.
I can't wait to cry at Estadio Azteca, man. I really can't wait to cry in the first game.
Oof, that'll be something. But we'll see how they choose to do the groups. They can do groups of 3 because it's 48 teams.
Yeah, they keep changing it. It goes from 4 to 3.
You can go back to 4, but then I think we discovered in this last World Cup in Qatar that there's a lot of excitement when those two games are concurrent,
Mm-hmm.
the last of the group games,
And then one of
they're
those
happening at the same time. But if you do groups of 3, then you don't get that more exciting situation.
Mm-hmm.
But if we have groups of 4, we've got to figure out which third place teams get to advance.
I can't wait till we get a co-ed World Cup. Alex Morgan versus Edson Alvarez in the midfield.
Yeah,
Let's go. That'd be amazing.
I guess, but I don't see it happening.
I don't either, but I can't wait till it eventually happens when I'm 85.
Yeah.
And the world is
Women's World Cup year down in Australia.
Yeah, Mexico didn't qualify, so
they did not, and they hosted the qualifiers.
I know, it pissed me off.
Yeah. Why is the Mexico national team called El Tri?
Because of the tricolor, the 3 colors on their flag.
That's right.
Do you know what the 3 colors mean? I know red is blood, white is peace, and I don't know what green is. Money.
Hope. Green is hope.
Go. There you go. I would have money.
Green is money?
I mean,
don't have enough of it?
They have more than enough. They just don't know how to use it.
Yeah.
All right. I think this might be your... Oh, you got one more in here.
I think I got a lot of brownie points on that last question.
Why was El Tri banned from the 1990 World Cup?
Yeah. The Cachirules, they fielded overage players in the U20. I don't know if it was qualifiers or the World Cup. So FIFA...
It's a CONCACAF tournament.
Yeah, FIFA banned them or suspended them from the 90 World Cup.
Yeah. Correct.
Sad day. See, that one had to go to me because I'm old.
Yeah, dude.
I was
like
alive.
1990.
I was alive for that. Not sure I've ever... was following the
I
team.
barely learned about that like 3 years ago. That's because my mom told me.
Because you had to be like, oh, they played in this one.
Yeah.
Why did they play in 1990? Oh, man, that's when you start digging. Let's see. Who is the all-time leading goal scorer for El Tri? All-time?
Oh, no. Jare Porchetti was, and then it became Chicharito, right? There you go.
Do you know how
I just like Jare Porchetti because that's my favorite player all time.
Do you know how many he has?
I want to say 40 or 38.
No, you're not giving enough credit to Little P.
Is it 45?
It's 52.
Holy shit. Shizer.
Yeah.
I almost cussed there. Sorry, kids.
Yes, this is a family-friendly podcast. Come on.
Yeah. It's not after dark. 3 after dark.
No.
All right. Here's your last one. Does El Tri have a positive or negative goal differential versus the U.S.?
Like all time?
All time.
That has to be positive because there was like 50 years when the U.S. didn't beat them.
Nah, it was a long time. They didn't start beating them until the 90s.
Yeah.
Like literally late 90s, early 2000s, the only time the U.S. became good.
No, yeah, exactly. I specifically remember like...
Can you guess how many?
Oh, no.
What's goal differential? Plus 58.
Plus 58. It's going to take...
Una goleada year after year for that to even like get close.
Yeah, but some Mexican fans are pessimistic enough that they're like, oh, yeah, they'll catch us.
They already did. They're
no, I mean the goal difference.
The goal differential. I'm like, and yeah, the U.S. is already better than Mexico. The only thing that's keeping down...
statistically, they made the round of 16. And
well, I think their infrastructure is way better.
Mexico came up 1 goal short of making their 5th... more than 5. However many consecutive round of 16.
Yeah, since 1990.
94.
Well, I mean, no, but the last time they didn't make it to round 16 was 1990 because they didn't even get to play.
Yeah. Okay. All right, man. I got your last question. Oh, who has the most appearances for El Tri?
I'm going to go with a really old person and say Rafa Marquez.
No.
But
I'll give you a hint. He played in this World Cup.
Oh, El Principito, Andrés Guardado. You're right.
Guardado.
I forgot he's also very old. I forget that I'm getting older as well.
Man. I mean, he's in his 30s, but yeah, no, I mean, he did actually officially say he is retired from El Tri.
Finally, man. He should have said that in 2018.
Hey, man, I mean, but he was still captaining Betis last, before the World Cup. So, I mean, he's in form. Like, he's a good player.
Yeah, he's a good player. But again, I just think it's time to go out with the old, in with the new.
Out with the old, in with the new. So that we talked a good amount of that. And, but yeah, man, let's wrap it up.
Thanks a lot for watching El Tri. I'm Yahir Vasquez.
I'm Luis Rodriguez.
And you know what they say? Viva Mexico.
Viva Mexico. Like, comment, subscribe. We're on all the good podcast platforms. You can watch us on YouTube. You can watch us on Spotify, actually, while watching or while listening. But yeah, tell your friends or 500.